Welcome to the Friends with Benefits podcast, a business podcast about revenue-generating partnerships, not a podcast about business time with friends. We're your co-hosting couple. I'm Jason.
And I'm Sam. Welcome to the show, friends.
Welcome back, friends. We're back with another incredible episode. Today, I am incredibly honored and stoked to bring my friend, Mr. Elliot Smith from the famed Sixth Sense.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Good to be here.
Can you give us a little bit of background, where you came from, what you do at Sixth Sense, how you got there?
I started my career as a kind of a technology consultant. So I was in the Big Four at PwC Consulting and got to really kind of learn about technology more from kind of the implementation side of things, really. And through that, got to meet some really interesting people who were working in software sales. And through that, kind of made a pivot of a career myself in towards partnerships. So lots of people having lots of fun, doing some really good stuff in BD and partnerships at software firms. And this was kind of the early stages of cloud software. And so, Sam, 3 years ago, I joined Sixth Sense. So we're kind of an account-based marketing, revenue intelligence, revenue creation software. So if it sounds like it's hard to define, it's because we're redefining categories, I think, as we go.
Redefining and leading.
Exactly. And I head up partnerships there, which means kind of agency and services partnerships, tech partnerships, data partnerships, and kind of everything in between.
Very interested in how your transition from consultant into partnerships actually influence the work and your ability to build successful partnerships and kind of, liaison as consultant with these MarTech companies.
These kind of consulting companies, the likes of what's now kind of Accenture and Deloitte, PwC Consulting, they were all really kind of finance, tax, accounting firms. So they were all building consulting divisions because they realized that their clients needed more than just finance, tax, and accounting. With all the tech that was hitting the market, especially with e-commerce, I was actually involved in more kind of the contact center and telecom kind of billing and operational systems. There was tons of transformation going on there because mobile phone networks were just really getting going. And in Europe, they had this concept of kind of mobile virtual network operators. So you've got lots of brands, kind of like Boost in the US, where you've got a company that's really reselling Sprint's airtime, but under a different brand. You had loads of those popping up in Europe, and it was just a really good time. There was a lot of money was being spent in kind of transforming the infrastructure and transforming the approach to customer experience over there. And so these finance, tax, and accounting firms just spun up consulting divisions to implement, enterprise software. I hadn't done 1 minute of computer science ever in my career, neither at high school nor at college. And then all of a sudden, I was going through a pretty deep techie boot camp. The idea was that they would teach you how to not only kind of how to implement, but really the underpinnings of technology. And so just developed a passion from that and moved out of that into kind of client delivery. So I was on that kind of Monday to Friday client delivery cycle, traveling around the world in some cases, delivering large kind of enterprise technology transformation projects for customers. And kind of did that for 10 years. And my final role was actually managing the CRM implementation for a company at AT&T. So they had 60 call center agents around the world using this company's software. And so I was the liaison between kind of the software firm, the consulting arm of that, and the client. So managing a large program at a customer like AT&T was massive, gave me really good insight. And along the way, we realized that to be better consultants, we really need to be coaching and advising our customers on what technology was coming around the corners and how to adopt it. Had a passion for BD and sales and got into partnerships through there.
I think a lot of us in partnerships are trying to figure out how to crack the consultant code, right? The Accentures of the world, Deloitte's, PwC's, and all those. Like, as you're working to be a better consultant, doing the advising, and so on and so forth. Like, what was it you were looking for in these? At the time you were building partnerships on behalf of PwC without probably knowing it, but what were you looking for in those people?
That's a great question. And I think the first thing was innovation. So what's something new that's going to get the customer really, really excited? Because we very quickly realized that just implementing enterprise software was becoming somewhat of a commodity, and there were many companies emerging that could do it. But the ones that were winning were the ones that were doing that and at the same time kind of introducing their clients and their customers to new technology that's coming.
It's very clear that you have a very good understanding of like the technical side of the product and how things work and what that means for customers. And that's amazing and a really awesome skill set that you have to have for partnerships. The other side of that, though, is telling the story and how that can add value and like come full circle for customers. And that's also a separate skill set. And you have both. How did you always have both? Have you had to like level up on one? Can you talk about that a little bit?
The short answer to your question, Sam, is I kind of realized that developing relationships, say inside of Sixth Sense, with our amazingly gifted engineering and technical and product teams, they'll solve technical problems so much better than I ever will. But I teach my team to kind of be the translation bridge, if you like, between those groups who wake up every day thinking about, how do I solve this bug? Or how do I deliver this feature? They're not necessarily thinking about how will this be used or how will it drive value. So for me, I realized that I've got some skills more on the soft side of things to tell stories, to align delivery with value, and to build relationships internally that have really paid off along those lines.
When you first started at Sixth Sense, let's talk about like where you began to make friends first within the company.
Everywhere, because we were so small at the time. We were 200 people back then. I think I was 221. Brina Moore, if she's listening, was leading enablement for us at the time, meaning anybody that joined the company, that we were in Brina's capable hands to go through the initial 2-3 week onboarding. And I set myself the goal with Brina to have 100 one-on-ones in the first 100 days that I was at Sixth Sense. It's really funny. Like, I'm going to reveal a little secret here. When I joined, I just created a Google sheet of all the people I'd met. And I really like to get to know people on a personal level. And this is going to sound really strange, but knowing their wife's name or their husband's name and knowing their kid's name, because people bring that up all the time. It just comes up in conversation. They mention it. Like, I would track that. And I don't know if that sounds creepy now that I'm sharing that to you, but I feel like the next time you go back to that person, like, remembering that. And
I love that.
I mean, that's literally why we started this podcast, because it's, partnerships. Yes, it's building relationships with the goal of driving value and driving revenue for companies. But at the basis of that is human to human interaction and adding value to every conversation. And that's how you do it. You get to know people.
We're putting our professional and personal reputations on the line when we send a partnership deal up for approval between two companies. I've got this phrase that somebody shared with me a while ago. You learn a lot more about somebody in an hour of play than you do in a week of meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what both of you guys were just addressing there. And we spent some time playing, having dinners and traveling, doing stuff. Like, the deals start to get a little bit better. They become more strategic and more purposeful. We're not just tossing stuff over the fence anymore. Like, no, I got to make sure this is right for Elliot, or I got to make sure this is right for Sam.
Sam, what's been your experience along those lines?
Well, I mean, I think it's the same across whatever partnership you're running. So my major partnership is with Salesforce, and that can be overwhelming at times. But what we've done is we've really broken it down to enable that human-to-human interaction. So instead of PFL partnering with Salesforce, it's Sam and Alex, who's on my team, partnering with Salesforce AEs. And that's really getting to know them, understanding like what's important to them, what's, what industry they're in, where they live. I love your concept about play, because that's how we try to work with these people. It's like, let's get face to face. Let's like get to know these people on a human level before we just go banging down the door and say, we're a direct mail vendor, do business with us. It doesn't really land that well. And the unfortunate part about that is it takes time. So like when you have metrics that your team is like, where are my leads? Where are my deals? It's like they're coming. But, these things take time to build, and it's not an overnight success.
As you're beginning to onboard these partners, you're beginning to work with a new department in Salesforce, like, what's the talk track to say, like, deals take time, this is why, and this is the plan?
It's really that. Like, it's laying out the plan, I think, and being really clear about what the end goal is. And I think that's where we struggle sometimes. Me, my team, everyone in partnerships, is it's sometimes difficult to start with the end in mind. I love AWS's process along these lines. They love to start with the end in mind. They have a process called kind of the narrative and what they call the press release frequently asked questions process, which is you have a new idea that you want to bring to the table inside of AWS. you actually have to write a fictional press release and fictional frequently asked questions from the voice of a customer. People's excitement about the potential for a partnership can ebb and flow on a daily, hourly, weekly basis. So for me, it's about prioritization, right? So what do you really feel strongly that you can deliver on? And then go the extra mile to be very clear with everybody about what this will deliver and how. And we've got lots to learn along those lines, and we could be doing a lot better, but that's really how we have to approach it.
When I came on here, we had probably 15 partners that we were doing nothing with. And it was like, okay, well, let's look at like where we can really drive the most value faster and how. And so we took Salesforce. Like that's where the most leads were coming from, but it was very reactive. So how could we build a relationship that's proactive? And to your point too, like once you start to build these relationships, word trickles, and your network just naturally starts to grow within those ecosystems. It truly is a force multiplier, as cheesy as that sounds. That's the reality of it. So we've talked about where you started building internal friendships first. You work at 6th Sense, and obviously you guys have seen a lot of success. You're a category leader. Everybody wants to partner with 6th Sense. So how have you decided to how to prioritize external friends, as we've called them, or partners, or like where did you go first, and now how do you prioritize all the asks?
When I first joined, shout out to Tapas Majumdar, who's out there somewhere. Tapas had kind of started the partner program and had built some really kind of nice integrations that were very much kind of delivering mutual customer value. So started with a really good foundation there of, all right, we're already delivering value for mutual customers. How do we put more kind of go-to-market muscle memory, I would say, behind that? So just aligning sales teams and CS teams on either side. That's really where I focused. Instead of just trying to make a name for myself by just signing new partnerships all over the place, it's like, let's go and make what we have better. There's a really good foundation. It needed some good content around what is the better together story. You know, if I'm an AE or a CSM at 6th Sense, how do I approach a prospect or customer about this? And then from there, this was the first time in my career that we used any kind of account mapping solution. And that was really powerful too, because then you can very quickly see what's the potential overlap for a partnership, or what's the existing overlap for a partnership. And we just started prioritizing based on where do our partners have a really good overlap with either our customer base or with our pipeline or with our ICP list, and go focus there. So that's really where I started to build those relationships. And we use that religiously today as a process or a step in our new partner onboarding or acquisition processes. First of all, let's take a look at what's the potential for business here for both sides.
What most people probably don't realize about you and your program is that you're not trying to partner with hundreds of and thousands of companies, right? You're keeping it strategically focused, very narrow. Talk to me about why that is, and kind of how you're able to scale as a result.
Our view is that we want 6th Sense to be the central nervous system powering our customers' revtech and go-to-market transformation efforts. We also recognize that we don't deliver everything that our customers need. And there's adjacent technology like web personalization, like chat conversations, like sales engagement platforms. There's all these different categories that kind of wrap around 6th Sense in order for if we look at our happiest customers, our best customers, they've typically got an integration to a CRM system, usually Salesforce. They've got integration to a map, to Marketo, Alico, Pardot, HubSpot. And then, they've got 6 or 7 of these other kind of adjacent solutions, maybe a Lean Data, a Mutiny HQ for web personalization, SalesLoft for sales engagement, or Outreach, Drift as a chat solution. And we are very deliberate that we want to offer our customers choice in who they work with. We don't feel like we should be showing up as a platform play and saying, hey, use our sales engagement platform or use our chat solution. That, hey, we don't have one today, but B, we're not really looking to force choice on our customers. We want them to plug and play what they've selected, because that's what we find. Like most of our customers have already chosen a solution in those other categories. And so we want to integrate with them versus come in and either force replacement or just not work with those solutions.
And I can see a world that exists for you as well, where kind of this story comes full circle, right? Where your consulting days come through. It's like you're the central nervous system, as you say. I love that. But you're able to take your kind of ecosystem, your atmosphere, whatever you want to call it, and consult with your customers on which partners to best work with to serve their needs.
I am often pulled into customer conversations because a customer might be interested in, hey, how could this piece of tech or this piece of data that I license elsewhere, how could that work with 6sense? I get pulled into those conversations a lot. And listen, this whole category that we're in, however you want to describe or define it, there's thousands of pieces of tech out there, and not a week goes by at 6sense when we don't have 10 CSMs on a Slack channel saying, hey, do we integrate with this, and this? And we never want to be the team that says no to everything. So the way we reply when someone says, hey, it would be great if we had an integration to technology A, B, C, because my customer has that, we tend to lead with, okay, that's great. We'd love to learn more about that technology and why that's different and why did your customer choose that? And then let them know that, hey, we don't have any product roadmap capacity available for the next 12 months to build any new integrations. So, please bear that in mind when you're talking to your customer. Please don't set their expectation that just because we built something in 2 months before, we can build any integration you like in 2 months. And then, hey, the next step will then go after that, if everything sounds good, is to go do some account mapping and say, okay, well, what is the potential for business for both of us? And when you walk internal people down that talk track, they tend to go from being in a position where they just want you to build an integration overnight to, oh yeah, that actually makes business sense, that we should probably go slow and only choose the ones that can really move the needle.
I love what you just said too, because I think validating your partners and putting a business case behind them and making sure that they fit your ideal partner profile, if we'll call it that, is really crucial. One thing that we've really honed in on is partners are, as a partner team, our partners are our customers. And you said this, but regardless of how big or small they are, they take the same effort. And that's the same for customers too. So how can you use the resources you have to get the best results? And I think helping your teams understand that is really crucial, because otherwise you are the team that says no all the time. And that does hurt your internal relationships if you're then not easy to work with.
Kind of the ideal partner profile, that's a really good kind of phrase that I think we should all rally around. What helps us prioritize when we know that there are good people on the other side?
Let's create this scenario, right? IPP, ideal partner profile, lines up, everything looks good, checks Elliot's boxes, but the other person you're working with is just a jerk. How do you have that conversation, or how do you walk away from that partnership? But
you just have to be honest and say, hey, look, we're just having difficulty getting this going for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, you have to read the body language of your field teams, I think, and then that gives you some coaching and feedback and specific points to really use to say, look, we cannot prioritize this partnership at the moment because we don't think it's going to deliver on the value that you think it will.
As it relates to ideal partner profile, do you keep that documented for your team, your sales teams, everybody to help identify partners, or is it more just let's have a conversation?
We don't. I think as we grow and as we scale, and if there does come a point where we might expand into other channels of partnership, then I think that definitely comes into play a lot more.
I think the other thing that's often overlooked in this IPP conversation too is where the company's headed and how aligned you are as a partner team with your internal teams. So again, we're coming full circle, but who's your ICP and where is your marketing pointing their guns? And are your partners aligned there? That's low-hanging fruit. Where's your product roadmap? Are your partners aligned to that, or are you filling holes for in the future of where your company's going? So again, it comes back to that internal alignment too, and just constantly going back to that well to make sure you're up to date.
Yeah, we'd really tightly align with the product team so you understand capacity on the roadmap, right? How many integration partners could they add this year in theory? That's really important. We've gone the extra step, Sam, recently of actually lighting my team up by go-to-market segment. So given that it's unlikely we're going to add a lot of new integration partnerships over the next 12 to 18 months, we've got a really good stable. The data tells us when we look at overlaps between our pipeline and our partners' customer base, we have more than enough and we have the right ones. So now it's time. We've spent a couple of years figuring out who can we depend on, who can we rely on, who do we believe in on the other side of the fence. We know who that is now. So I've taken Jeff's team recently and lined them up by go-to-market segment. So this is the idea that instead of them being 100% focused on partner management, which might sound a little bit strange given that they're in the partnerships org, instead of them being all day, every day, just focusing on managing the partnerships, they're actually now 80% of their time is focused on how do we make our partners famous inside of the field teams? And then 20% of their time is focused on the traditional kind of partner management function. And we're in this transition period at the moment where I'm sure some of our partners might be feeling, or soon I'll be getting some calls from partners saying, hey, we're not feeling as much love as we did before. To which the answer will be, yeah, that's expected. But if you just stay the course with us, you'll see a lot more benefit because now you'll be much, much more deeply ingrained in the field team's motion.
You've really created partner account managers alignment to more of your regional field teams, correct?
Yep.
And how did you break that down?
So we have just three segments. Just think commercial, strategic, and enterprise. And the easiest way to think about it is each of the RVPs that runs direct sales for those segments now has a named person from the partner team who's responsible for partner strategy and activations and campaigns and everything that goes in between. Everything from opening up a shared Slack channel and making a request on behalf of a 6sense AE who would like to get some account insights from one of our partners who has a customer that we're trying to get into. Everything from that to what is the overall strategy? Where does this sales team? Where are they not winning because we don't have the right partnerships?
Did this change metrics for your team? How are you measuring success of this?
We think in terms of dark funnel or 6sense is, well, what are our customers' prospects kind of researching, right? On the web that are showing signs of being potentially in market or will be in market soon. I think partners are doing a lot of the same, right? And now the term dark social is very common in our industry. Is you've got all these Slack communities that have popped up where peers are sharing information amongst themselves and making recommendations to each other about what technology or what solutions they like. I think partnerships, the value of partnerships is really difficult to measure because I think there's so much of that type of activity going on. So we've gone down the traditional path of what pipeline is being sourced by your partners. But 6sense is a really good engine at identifying demand. And we find a lot of times our partners get beaten to the punch in some ways, is that a partner may have recommended us in a conversation with a customer that then led to that customer going to research us on our website. And then within 30 minutes of that conversation happening, one of our BDRs is actually calling that customer.
Classic.
Because it's seeing the activity on the website and it looks like a buying sign. So we're swarming that company. 4 weeks later, the partner tells us, oh yeah, I brought that lead to you because I told them to do some research.
And the BDR's like, I'm sure you did.
Exactly, right? So who wants to get into a fight about what was really the source of that opportunity? Do we really want to take that away from a BDR's metrics? And no. Like, we did the right thing. We got the partner really fired up about 6sense enough to recommend us to a customer who then did some research that we captured, right? The good stuff happened, right? All we're trying to get to, how can a sales conversation happen as quickly as possible? So we just have to temper things a little bit there. I think on the agency and services side of our business, that is absolutely a valid motion, and we praise and value and reward those kind of referrals coming in from agencies and services partners. So big metric there, Sam. But this pivot we've made to kind of be aligned by go-to-market segment, it's all there about bookings impact.
Is that kind of more around like partner attach rate? That impact of having more partners attached, having more deals associated to partners?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I realized I didn't answer the question. But yes, so it's attach rate to deals.
Well, this has been an exceptional conversation. I really appreciate you taking some time to sit with us and share some trade secrets, even down to Google Sheets and keeping notes of your personal
I'm stealing that.
life. Yeah, absolutely. I've already created one.
Thanks so much, Elliot.
Love you both and just wish you all the best success in the future. So thank you very much.